managed to get Billy. So Fiona, who is our next speaker?
We are so delighted that he has managed to make it backstage. And next up, we are pleased to introduce Billy Burke to ScotEd. Hello, Billy. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good.
Great
Billy,
to have you with us.
Thanks so much for persisting with the technology issues, and thanks for allowing us to jump on it and come on. So thank you very, very much for that. We're delighted to have you. And in the Scotland top as well. I absolutely love that.
I felt it was appropriate for the theme.
Absolutely.
So, Billy, what are you going to talk to us about today?
Well, what I want to talk to you about is about empowered teachers and what that means, why it's important, and how we can, how we need to grasp the opportunity to empower our teachers in classrooms and learning spaces all around the country. Right.
Well, thank you. Break a leg, and we can't wait to see you on the other side, Billy.
Great. Well, morning, everyone. I don't have slides to share, so apologies that you just need to put up with looking at me. And I haven't used this device before for a call, so I'm kind of switching between some screens. So bear with me. As I said to Darren and Fiona, I want to talk to you about empowerment. It's a word that's used often in Scottish education, and like everything else that becomes a bit of a buzzword, I think we can lose what the true meaning behind it is. So here's my pitch at why empowered teachers is absolutely crucial going forward. First thing I want to say is that empowerment, the word itself containing the word power, there's a sense that it's something that is given to someone else. It's not. Empowerment won't be given to teachers. Teachers are going to need to take it. Now, there are lots of reasons why empowerment at classroom level and school level is difficult to achieve. We work within a big beast of a system. There's an element of protectionism in the system, fear of change, people wanting to hold on to the past and do what we've always done. But for me, school empowerment is not optional. If we want to build a system to support a better future for our children and young people, then we need to achieve school empowerment, teacher empowerment. Why? Well, I and others argue that we're actually in a bit of an emergency footing at the moment. And I'm not just referring to the pandemic, where we've all worked incredibly hard to deal with the effects of it and continue to move education on. There are other emergencies that we deal with day and daily. The impact of poverty in our society and too many young people's lives off to a poor start. The impact of trauma. We have a better understanding about what trauma does and how we can better deal and cope with it. Inequality in every front, and we know that we are in the midst of a climate emergency. So, not to sound doom and gloom, because there's hope, and the hope for me comes through the education system. We can have a world-class education system in Scotland. We have many elements already. The principles of our curriculum, the aspirations for our curriculum, Scotland's unique approach to getting it right for every child, and our efforts to better include every single young person. Our commitment to equity, to equality, and to social justice, which is absolutely embedded in our values as professionals. And crucially, the talented and committed education workforce, from support staff to teachers to school leaders and those who support. People, it's always about people, and that's why empowerment is so important. Because if we want a world-class education system to rise to these challenges that we face, we need world-class teachers. And we're not going to get world-class teachers if people don't have autonomy, because we know we don't thrive when decision-making is taken away from us, where it's seen as too hierarchical, too bureaucratic. When things are top-down, when they are imposed, they can be perceived as too abstract, unclear, not fit for purpose, not related to the reality on the ground. So we need to shift that round. Give you an example of what empowerment isn't. It isn't the way we implemented CFE in terms of nearly 2,000 E's and O's, 20,000 web pages. We were then told to unpack them, group them, laminate them, make sure that literacy is covered as well, and by the way, do it in an IDL class. and everything that went along with that. Then put it in a profile, and I've not even touched on assessment. Significant aspects of learning, benchmarks, and I'm not even going to touch on the senior phase at all today, guys, because that's a whole other day. Actually, what it was about was developing confident, responsible young people with skills for lifelong learning and a passion for lifelong learning, and the capacity to develop their well-being and contribute positively to their own networks, their family networks, their local communities, and to global society. And if we'd started from that upwards, we would have got to a different place sooner. But it could be worse. We could be governed by the Department for Education, and you see all that happens down south. Empowerment is the opposite of that. Really what matters day and daily to me as a head teacher, and what should matter to everyone involved in education, is the quality of the day-to-day interactions in classrooms and learning spaces between children and those who support them. We do need strong national steer, national priorities we can all buy into, and actually the Scottish system is relatively cohesive, and there is buy-in to the high-level messages. But we then need that freedom and ability to adapt to our own communities, our own schools, our own classrooms, and the individuals within that. That means autonomy within curriculum making and application. It means autonomy to pick the right and best learning approaches. Autonomy even within the best assessment approaches. I'm not arguing that every teacher and school leader in Scotland should be left just to get on with things exactly as they think is right. We are, as we see today, we're a connected profession. So it's about what Michael Fullan calls connected autonomy. We, as we are seeing today, can form networks more easily and more quickly, grassroots networks, easier than before. And when you get a group of teachers together to talk about core business, to talk about learning and teaching, getting them to read, share practice with each other, inquire, if that doesn't light a spark in a teacher, then nothing will. And it does. I see that within my own school, and I feel it in the energy that's coming through from events like today. And what I would encourage, empower teachers to do is continue to shift the focus from teaching to learning. You can have the prettiest lesson starter, laminated learning intentions and shiny co-created success criteria with every cooperative task and active learning approach in the world. If it doesn't result in the learning of the young people that we're trying to achieve, then it doesn't matter how shiny the teaching is. So we need teachers to focus on what we know works for our young people in our classrooms. Unfortunately, we know more about how humans learn. We have science and evidence and psychology to help us there. There's an inextricable link between learning and well-being, and in the classroom, in an empowered class, it doesn't matter how nice the PowerPoint is, how beautifully it's put together. If the children aren't interested in what they're learning, they're not engaged, and they don't know why they're learning it and what they can do with it, then it won't matter. An empowered classroom is where pupils play an active part in what they're doing, why they're doing it, and what they can then do as a result of this. Now that needs energy. That needs energy from teachers. So teachers in Scotland need more time to think, to research, to connect, to try things out, to evaluate, to inquire. We also, let's be honest, could be doing with smaller classes. I know that we like to get told that class sizes don't really make a difference, but they do. They do to the energy of teachers. And we need flattened leadership hierarchies in our schools and learning environments. Now, I'm not saying remove management, right? You need roles to do some of the heavy lifting to free teachers and those next to young people to be creative learners, leaders of learning with their pupils. In fact, I argue that in secondaries, for example, we need more principal teachers. We removed many a while ago, and it was counterproductive. But for me, it's about that leadership culture hierarchy, and we should flatten that. schools, decision makers in schools, which should be at every level, should focus on this question: does it make the boat go faster? So does it help teaching and learning? Does it help outcomes for young people? And if it doesn't, don't do it. That's an empowered teacher. That's an empowered school. So in Scotland, we do have an alignment between national policy and practice, but the development of policy needs to be ground up as well as top down. Teaching should be the go-to career choice for our brightest and best young people. It's often not. We think it should be law and medicine. That means we need the terms and conditions of teaching as a profession to align with what we want. It should be difficult to get into teaching. We need the very best if we want world-class teachers. So, strong national direction, clear steer, a connected profession, world-class teaching on the ground. What I want to finish with is just a challenge out there, which is what's then in the middle? So what's between the school and national government? There's a lot of resource spent in agencies, national and otherwise. There's a lot of finance in that middle part. The question through the reform agenda that Ken Muir is leading at the moment is, what do schools need from that to achieve the national objectives? What adds value nationally and what adds value locally? So I encourage you to be empowered teachers by taking part in the conversation. Take part in the consultation. Encourage others to do so. We have the potential at the moment, if we truly can empower our schools and our teachers, we have the potential for the biggest reform in Scottish education since comprehensive education. I really mean that. It's not a could, it's a must. The status quo is not an option. Chuck in a line from the Manic Street Preachers. If you tolerate this, then your children will be next. So, I know many people on the call will have children in school. What do we want it to look like as they progress over the next 5, 10 years and beyond? By empowering teachers, we can deliver the improvement for Scotland's young people that we want to see. It's as simple and as complex as that. So, thank you to Fiona and Darren. This event, the work that you do, is an example of empowered teachers. It's been a real pleasure to have the opportunity to put my pitch forward this morning. Thank you.
Billy, thank you so much. Some really great comments there. And I love what you said about school empowerment is not optional. The points about flattened leadership hierarchies. I love the quotes that you built in there. Does it make the boat go faster? I absolutely love that. If it doesn't, just don't do it. And that was mentioned by someone about the need for bravery to create a culture of leadership and teacher autonomy. And I love that line from the Manic Street Preachers. I was actually listening to them a few days ago, so it's absolutely timely. If you tolerate this, our children will be next. So thank you very much, Billy. Fiona, what is going on in the world of social media?
Oh, we have so many people loving what you were saying about the talking, reading and researching. If it doesn't light a spark in a teacher, then nothing will. And I think it's amazing to see that we have so many sparks in our teachers that are tuning in today, because these are the people that we need to be driving the learning teaching in our schools, and so fantastic. Your quote about the principal teachers struck a bit of a chord there as well. And I know that a lot of people felt really strongly about that, and the kind of flattened management hierarchy, and also about the point about what's in the middle. So we've got these teachers on the ground, we've got the policymakers, what's happening in the middle, and making more of that part in there. So really fantastic.
Brilliant, thank you. A couple of questions that I found in the comments. One from Drew Burrett. Should the role of the national bodies be more focused on supporting teachers to become empowered? And I think you mentioned that during your talk. What do you say to that?
I would absolutely agree. If the question could be applied, if it doesn't make the boat go faster, to the middle. Sometimes teachers perceive the middle as quite invisible. let's just mention regional improvement collaboratives. You know, regional improvement collaboratives are an example of they were never envisaged to be separate roles or a separate entity or another layer. And I'll let you judge what they have become. But the regional improvement collaboratives should be practitioners.
Mm-hmm.
It should be a facilitation service, a menu of supports that schools can reach out for. You know, not a top-down, here's a direction and here's something we want you to implement. And the people that populate these collaboratives, for example, if you want, I'm a maths teacher, you want a piece of work done around maths, go to the Maths Teachers of Scotland. Free up some time and resource in their week. People don't need to leave their school to contribute to the national agenda. You know, we just need time. And there is resource out there, we know that. A lot of it goes in permanent salary. You know, and there is a challenge. We need to be really open about this, I think, between how people are perceived in schools when they get so far removed from schools. Now, we do need national roles. We need people to facilitate things and spend all their time and energy on things. But have we got the balance right? SQA, for example, have 1,000 employees. 1,000.
Well, that's a lot. Probably there from Olivia Drennan, Ed, on that. Could Ed Scott Ricks be doing more to provide resources so teachers can focus on pedagogy?
Say that one again, Don.
I'll put that one again. Where is it? Should Ed Scott Ricks be doing more to provide resources so teachers can focus on pedagogy?
Interesting. Yeah. Well, this is the conundrum, right? Because here's what teachers did when CFE came in that doesn't exemplify empowerment. Many people asked to be told what to do. Somebody somewhere just write the course and I'll deliver it. That's not an empowered teacher. That's not going to do it. That's the way it has been done, and it's got us to where we are. Teachers are professionals, they're highly qualified, they're highly experienced and skilled. Who best to write the curriculum for your own school, the lesson planning for your own classes than you? Now, if you can't do that, I question whether or not teaching is the right thing, right? So don't ask to be told what to do. But, and the question's absolutely right, every practitioner in Scotland shouldn't then need to go away and create the best, richest resources to support the learning and teaching. Now, the digital world has moved us on in that regard. Because if you want, you know, if I'm teaching higher and I want to introduce first principles of calculus, back when I was doing that day and daily, they would listen to me talk for a long period of time, and if they were still awake at the end of it, it was great. But now I can show them a video from a Professor Brian Cox or somebody much better placed than me to show this in a more stimulated way. So yes, that's the question. What do we need from the middle? So at times we will need resources. I suppose my question is, who's the best place to actually write those resources? You know, could we not have that capacity within practicing teachers? Again, freeing them up to collaborate and connect and deliver in that way. Great question.
Definitely, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Billy. I think I'm just going to pick up on one of your other, I know you're head teacher of Renfrew High, but your work that you do with Changing Conversations podcast, I think is so valuable, and I think it really helps to have these conversations and to get people talking and thinking and collaborating in a way. So I know it's a bit different for you to be on the other side today, but we really value your contribution, and we hope it's allowed people to kind of think and challenge their thinking a wee bit more about that as well, and what empowered teachers really means in our Scottish education system. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Billy. Just before you go, can you share how people can carry on the conversation with you on Twitter? Yeah, is your Twitter handle at William_J_Burke? Have I got that right?
Sounds about right. Yeah, follow me on Twitter. I also am a member of Ken Muir's panel, so I'm keen to hear as many voices as possible about what the current reform should deliver to better empower schools and teachers. And as Fiona mentioned, if anything I've said resonates with you, if it hasn't driven you away, come and connect with us on Changing Conversations. Just Google it. You'll find us on Twitter. My co-host Sarah Philp, and you can email us through that as well. Actually, you'll find an episode involving Darren and Fiona in the archive, so well worth a listen.
Right, thank you so much, and thanks you for highlighting that. We both thoroughly enjoyed that. Billy, thank you so much for coming on and being a part of ScotEd in the national jersey. So thank you so much. Thanks for mentioning there that you're on the panel of the Kenmure Review. So like David Cameron mentioned this morning, get involved, get in contact, have your say on the future of Scottish education. So thank you so much, Billy. Thanks for your persistence and perseverance with us this morning. I hope you absolutely enjoy the rest of your Saturday.
Thank you both.